Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy their first multifamily deal. So today I want to talk about what it takes to become the 1% in terms of wealth and kind of the journey as well as kind of the perception from the outside. Right. So for me, I've did ChatGPT, searched my net worth relative to my age, and ChatGPT told me that I'm in the top 1%. And it kind of like sunk in a little bit to me because for the past, like 12 years that since I've been working, I've always just been so like focused on a goal. Like when I graduated, I wanted to be a pharmacist. Once I became a pharmacist, I wanted to pay off my student debt. Once I paid off my student debt, I wanted to buy my first house. After I bought my first house, I wanted to become a real estate investor so that I could retire early off passive income. So I learned to become an investor in real estate. Then that started in single family homes, house hacking single family homes, to buying out of state single family homes, to buying value add out of state apartment complexes in Oklahoma using a direct mail campaign. So if you look at my trajectory, I started house hacking in the Bay Area, bought my second house hack in the Bay Area, third house hack in the Bay Area, moved to SoCal, bought a house hack in SoCal, bought an out of state rental in Huntsville, Alabama. I then bought a 26 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma using direct mail, bought a 200 lot mobile home park in Huntsville, Alabama, with seller finance. I bought a 20 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma using direct mail, and ended up selling my mobile home park for a loss. I was able to double the value of my 26 unit, my 20 unit, which is the majority of my cash flow today. A lot of the single family homes I bought as house hacks, appreciate significantly since 2017 and 2019. So, I just kind of listed all that in terms of like investing. I learned to like dollar cost average index funds. So I do, Vanguard predominantly. So I do VT-SAX, which is the total US stock market. I do the total international stock market, excluding the US. I do the total bond market. And my allocation is, I believe, 70% total US, 20% is, or 25% is the international, and then 5% are bonds. And I try to sit on a 6 to 12 month emergency reserve, which I've been building up working my W-2. So I did all that because I wanted to retire early. And despite all that, was still focused on my pharmacy career, still am, working up the ladder, going to bigger organizations, bigger hospitals that pay more, that challenge you a little bit more and push you a little bit more. So that's kind of been like my journey. And for the past, I'd say year. So that was basically my investing journey was really heavy from 2017 all the way up to, I'd probably say 2023. And I remember in November of 2023, that's the first time where I could just sit down, pause, and really like just reflect, because at that point, I finished renovating my 26 unit apartment complex, sold my mobile home park for a loss. I finished renovating my 20 unit, and that's when my real estate portfolio was really stabilized. And at that point, I started focusing on my personal life. So, I finished everything in November 2023. I got a new job, my current job, in the start of 2024. I got engaged March of 2024. Bought this house in like May of like 2024, and started my new job, and it just was rebuilding up my emergency reserves because obviously things were wiped out because my car broke down. I had to buy my current Tesla. I got a new job. I put a down payment on this house. I had to pay for a wedding. So just a lot of like life events were hitting me, and then now I'm finally at the point where wedding's done. Been at my job for over a year and a half. Been in this house for like a year. The house is like pretty stabilized now. We have most of our furniture for the most part, and things are slowly taking pace. So now I'm just like, this is the first time where like I don't really have a goal I'm striving towards. Wedding was done. Obviously we're probably gonna have kids probably late next year, if things go according to plan, and don't really have else much to do. So we've just been really focusing on really living life, enjoying life, and basically prioritizing travel, going to like concerts, events, trying new food, just really trying to maximize our weekends that we have, our kid-free weekends before we have kids. And once you have kids, then that's your weekend. It's preoccupied with kids. So we're just really trying to enjoy that, basically dink lifestyle with no kids, knowing that kids are going to come. We've been really trying to like enjoy our time, and I get bored and I tell myself, don't be bored. But anyways, that was just kind of context as to my journey, as to how I became the 1%. But on the way there, it was quite interesting. So on your way to the 1%, like you don't even realize that you hit it in a weird way. Like I always kind of felt like I was always poor, most of my life, because I was like, I didn't I grew up in immigrant families. There's always a place of lack, scarcity, no abundance. So I leveraged that to basically, along with my need to like do better and to prove that I was better, grew up with very low self-esteem. But I kind of use that as fuel to like build wealth, to make myself better in every aspect possible, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, has been the main focus. And along the journey, a lot of people don't talk about it. I've said it before in prior videos, but like, you don't really get as much support as you think. Like a lot of people support you along the way. So, you get friends, family, like close friends, close family, like they don't quite understand the financial journey you're going on. And a lot of people cannot relate with the financial journey. Like look how much real estate that I've gathered, and it's just very unrelatable. Like most people like my age, this time, pharmacists, they're just trying to like pay off their student debt, and they're just trying to buy their first house. And they're already struggling to pay off their student debt, and they're struggling to buy their first house. So they kind of feel hopeless, right? And me over here, I'm on my third, fourth, fifth house, buying apartments out of state. Just got my house here, like relatively speaking, pretty easily. And with that, like, people don't quite support you, and then probably behind the scenes are, saying like, oh my God, this guy's rich, or he has an advantage, or he's greedy, he's doing this. And what I learned is that as you like get better and push yourself, people, when they see your growth, they see your success, it kind of like hurts their ego, because they feel like they quit. They felt like they quit. They didn't try. They didn't put in extra effort. And they just see that, because we're humans, comparison is natural, and comparison is the thief of joy. But like they see like how much you've grown, how much you've improved, and they see where they're at, and they're like, wow, like there's a huge gap between us now. And it hurts themselves and their ego. So they tend to like point that towards you. So that's why, if I'm being honest, like with my friends, family, and person, I don't really talk much about like my wealth, my real estate, my job. I don't really talk much about any of that unless they directly ask me. And typically I don't give that detailed response compared to my videos. So unless you're watching my YouTube videos, you'll know. But if you see me in person, I don't really share much, because I know that it makes people like feel bad. And, they view your success as like a hindrance on, like as a knock on them. And that's why, like, as you like, even like YouTube, like as you post yourself, put yourself out there, like for me, I find inspiration from it. So like if I saw somebody, let's say I was 25 and I saw myself like on YouTube, I would be inspired by it, knowing that, hey, I'm also a pharmacist. I feel hopeless right now, just trying to pay off student debt, but I saw that this guy did it. He paid off his debt, then he bought a bunch of real estate, and now he's living kind of a life that I want to live. So to me, I feel that I find that inspirational, because I just need to know that it's done. Like I'm an average dude for the most part, but I just do, because I have insane discipline for a long period of time, and that's what makes me extraordinary or above average or well above average. Because I do one simple thing every single day for like 12 years. So in the moment, it doesn't feel that impressive, but if you span it over like 12 years, it is impressive, right? Like you post a video every single day for a month, cool. But if you post every single day for like 10 years, wow, right? Same thing, longer time horizon, seems more impressive. So as you build wealth, as you better yourself, people that you expect to support you, they may not support you, and they'll just look at it and be like, wow, like you make it look too easy. And, they kind of feel bad seeing your success. And it's just human nature. Like it's not nothing. It doesn't mean like your friends don't like you or anything like that, but like, it's just like people are very jealous, and they just see the end result, but they don't see all the work you put in behind the scenes, and all that. So, just know that, in the beginning, when you're trying to build wealth, people root for you. Like they want, like, go, Steven, like we want you to succeed. And once they start seeing you success and you're more successful than them, they stop rooting for you, because they're like, oh wow, like he surpassed me. And then once you way out surpass them, they're just like, oh my God, like, they may not want to hang out with you anymore. So you may like lose friends. So that's why I said, for me to keep the peace, I really don't really talk much about my real estate, my wealth, unless they ask me. But, for me, a lot of times, if they really get in depth, I just be like, hey, chalk it up to luck. People, when you say it's luck, even though I know it's not luck, like, I know that I put in the work, I put in the effort, I put in the consistency. But when I chalk it up to luck, people are like, oh, he just got lucky. So that's why I'm not where he's at, because I'm not lucky like him. But if you put in enough work, you put in enough effort, you can manufacture your own luck after a while. Yeah. So that it's just a way for people to protect themselves and protect their own ego. Even now when I hit it, like no one's like celebrating me, like, oh my God, Steven, you're so amazing. My parents, like my dad, doesn't even know that I own this much real estate, because me buying real estate was too stressful for him, to the point where he couldn't sleep at night. I know he'd be worrying about me, and I don't want him to worry about me. He's in the I think almost 70, and I want him to enjoy his life, enjoy his retirement, and I know what I'm doing. So I don't need his support and validation, but it's hard. Like, Steven growing up probably wanted that validation from like my parents. And that's why I strive to be better, because I felt like I wasn't getting that validation or something like that. As I started building wealth, I'm like, you know what? Like I have to want to do this regardless or not if my parents and my close friends are supporting me or not. So I made that conscious decision, and it's hard. Like sometimes when I hit rock bottom, like in 2023, like I can't really share that like I'm like at rock bottom. I'm like depressed because my mobile home park is like not doing great. I'm stressed from renovating my 26 unit, my 20 unit, my job. I have a long commute. Like it's not relatable, right? Like I'm a stressed guy who's worth 5 million, and most people say, "Screw you, you're worth 5 million. I wish I was in your position," right? So like it's very lonely at the top, is what they say. So that's another piece of being the 1%. Like no people will support you in the way beginning, but once you build success, once you hit the top, no one's gonna care about your success, right? People are too absorbed in their own worlds and their own lives to care about your success. So, you just kind of like treat it like business as usual. So if you obtain wealth, don't think anyone would care. No one's going to really support you. And, just know you're doing it because you want to do it and that it's fits your lifestyle. Like for me, I'm really passionate about retiring early and, maximizing my full potential. So that's why I do it. Right. I don't do it for validation from, friends. I don't do it for validation from family. And, yeah. And a lot of people too, when you're rich, they just think like, oh, like this guy's like so cheap if they know you have money, but they don't know like your full situation. So, I mean, that's just part of it. So like by nature of percentages, like if you look at it from a math perspective, if you're in the top 1%, 99% of the world's not going to understand you, your vision, your mentality, your work ethic, because that's why they're part of the 99%. The only people who understand what you've accomplished and what you've done are the other 1%ers. So that's why, communities have become popular, masterminds have become popular, because you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, surround yourself with people in your similar situation so that you can talk about these things and not feel judged, right? That's really what it is at this point. Because yeah, I talk to 99% of the people. They're like, oh, you have a paid off house? Lucky you, must be nice. Oh, you paid off your student loans? Lucky you, must be nice, right? But they don't realize that I've delayed gratification, sacrificed a lot, didn't lifestyle inflate when I could have gone on nicer vacations, more vacations, bought nicer things, ate fancier meals. So they don't realize that they want the end result without the sacrifice that comes with it. And then if you see my efforts compounding over like 12 years, it's drastic. Like I remember I met a classmate from my pharmacy school. We've been out of school for 12 years and they just been making the minimum payment. And they're just trying to buy their first house. And me over here, I finished paying off my student loans 4 years out of school, and they're only halfway done, and I own multiple houses, or they just know I own a house right now. So like it's such a large gap now. Like no student debt, I own a house. They don't even have their loans paid off and they're doing this, but they're like spending money and not being intentional about how they spent their money. So it's really, you can start to see the gap widening and widening, widening. And then when they come back and you go to those reunions, they're like, oh my God, how'd you do that? So that's why like I'm very transparent on YouTube, but when in person, a lot more reserved, a lot more quiet. And if they ask me, I'll answer, but I don't give too much detail, right? And I typically will change the topic or ask about them, because people just want to talk about themselves. So that's quite an interesting thing. And I never understood why one of my uncles, who's like super wealthy, was born that way, but super humble, but he was always like very quiet, very reserved, because I think he knows that most people will not relate with him. And I've gotten burned. Like I used to share about my real estate, what I was doing with my real estate and all that. And people get excited for me, but probably behind the scenes, they're like, oh, screw this guy. Like, why is he even working? Like, why is he even working? So yeah, just many of these situations. Or I remember like overhearing a story where like a friend of mine, he had a family member or an uncle where like they owned like 5 houses in the Bay Area, and they just would always make fun of that family as to like how cheap they were, like how frugal they were. And like they would say like, oh, like they're so cheap, their kids have to ride a bicycle to school. They're so cheap that they do their own haircuts. They're so cheap that they always eat in. But what I didn't realize at the time, because I was like in my like early 20s, was they were super frugal, maybe a little extreme, but they were super frugal, but they basically allocate that money that they had. I don't think they had like super high income jobs either, but they allocate whatever money they had to buying real estate. And then over time, that real estate appreciates significantly. And each of those homes, I'm guessing now, are probably close to $2 million each. So they have owned 5, that's $10 million net worth. And probably by now they're owned free and clear. So I didn't realize what they were doing was that, they were the 1%ers and they built wealth, and then the other family members were just like talking trash about them. And I'm just like, that's probably happening to me. If I'm being honest, like I'm not exempt from that either. But they basically did all that. They did all the sacrifice, and then people were judging them. They chose to save money, every penny they can, to buy real estate, and then now they have a lot of real estate and own rental properties and doing that. So I'm like, that's just me now, essentially. And it was funny. Like I remember like laughing, like, oh yeah, they're so cheap, ha ha ha. And now I'm that person, right? That like was frugal. I mean, not that. I mean, I still go to get a haircut, and I started recently learning how to cook. But I ate out a lot, and yeah, it's easy to kind of laugh at those who are like different and unique, just to like protect yourself and protect your own ego. But just know that like they're trying to make a life that most people don't have. That's why it's called the 1%. So, like very eye opening, like with that story. And like I said, they're doing great financially now, where probably just the passive income from that real estate. They have a paid off house. They got other rentals where they're getting passive income. And like I said, they've built a 10 million plus net worth just through real estate alone, and maybe can retire now. And they had okay jobs. So it's just that slow and steady grind, and know that criticism comes with it. Like if you're getting criticized, know you're on the right path. If people are looking at you weird, you know you're on the right path. If no one supports you, understands you, know you're on the right path. And that's how it is. So like for me at this point, like I'm not impressed by people who just spend their money and like try to look rich, but in reality they're not. And it kind of hits me too, where I'm like, if I meet 100 people in a room, 10 of them will be like not as financially strong as me. 1%, one person would be. So I know for the most part, like people who I perceive as rich or wealthy, they're probably not relative to me. And for me, you look at me, I don't look like I'm rich at all. I look like I'm probably broke, right? If you see me on the street. But in reality, those are the people who are like the wealthiest, is the ones you can't tell. So like I said, for me, I know if I meet 100 people, 99 will be like not as wealthy as me, and 1% would be. That's why I like to listen more than I talk, and listen. Just because 99% of the time I'm not going to learn anything, but who knows? I may learn something from that. Yeah, to kind of summarize this, so I went a little long. To achieve the 1%, it requires a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. I know it's cliche. And a lot of people will not appreciate the sacrifice you've made once you've obtained it. They're going to say that you're lucky. They're going to say that you grew up rich. They're going to say that you're a fraud. You're lying, right? I heard all this, even to me. Despite me sharing my whole journey, people just make whatever story they want about you that is convenient for them and for their ego, so their ego doesn't feel hurt. And like I said, even once you obtain it, no one's gonna like be supporting you or happy about you too, right? Like even at one point, my now wife Christine, she didn't understand why I was doing this journey, like why was I pushing myself. But now, after like 5 years of being together, now she sees it now, and like, wow, like you did something extraordinary, and now it's going to give us a life that most people will not have. So anyways, if you want to learn to build an extraordinary lifestyle and elevate yourself to the 1%, or just to build more wealth, right? Of multifamily real estate, click on my link tree down below. From there, you can join my coaching program, my mentorship program. Let me know what questions you have. Hopefully you found some nuggets out of this. I just really want to be raw, really transparent as to what it was like to become the 1%, and what it takes, and then what type of criticism you're going to expect to come your way, right? And like, no one's going to support you. No one's going to validate you. You just have to do it for you. And just know that, because I thought people would validate me when I hit there, but obviously it didn't happen. So anyways, please like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.